It was a normal day in Tokyo. Everyone wanted to get to work on time, and the metro was crowded with people. Suddenly, a Japanese girl got up and gave her seat to an old man. She couldn't leave him standing for a long time, but when she realized who the man was, something amazing happened. The girl gives a seat to an old man. But the security camera captures something unbelievable. She was there using the metro to go to school, and she needed to travel a long distance, so getting a seat was not an unnecessary luxury. When she boarded the metro, she quickly looked around. All the seats were occupied except one. If she had arrived a few seconds later, she wouldn't have gotten this seat. She quickly moved towards the empty seat and sat on it, then dropped her heavy bag on the floor and sighed unknowingly that her life was about to change soon. Unexpectedly, the metro stopped at the next station, and at the end of a long queue of people, an elderly man managed to get on the metro just in time. He was looking for a seat, but the metro was crowded, and everyone seemed to ignore the man. She was watching in astonishment how no one was ready to help the elderly man. She stood up as he approached her, even though she greatly valued her seat. "Please, sir, sit here," she offered him. The man looked at her appreciatively, and with some effort he was able to sit. When the girl gave her seat to the man, he opened his mouth and said something she couldn't understand, so she smiled kindly and said no problem. It was clear that the man was not used to such kind gestures. His face was full of astonishment. "Do you know this girl, this man?" During the journey, she was here and there, looking at the old man, and every time she looked, she found him looking at her. This was strange. Do they know each other? Or is there something she forgot? No, this can't be. The man continued to stare at her for the rest of the journey. At first, she didn't care, tried to ignore it, thinking he would stop eventually, but he didn't. What should she do? Hina muttered in a low voice, but she couldn't stop. Her hands were tied. When the metro stopped at the station where the man wanted to get off, she faced a great difficulty in getting down and out of the train. Hina put her feelings aside and helped him once again. After he got out, the man thanked her warmly, wished her a happy day. Then Hina returned to the metro. What a start to a new day, she smiled contentedly. After a short while, she arrived at her station, but suddenly she remembered her bag. She hurried back to the metro to get her bag. Then she sighed with relief when she got it. But something else caught her attention. There was a scarf on the seat where the old man sat. She was confused. She took the scarf and saw that there was no writing on the scarf. She thought then that the man forgot the scarf on the seat. She looked around her as she thought about what she could do. She couldn't go back, so she put the scarf in her front pocket and continued her way to school, thinking that the scarf most likely belongs to the old man. While she was walking to school, her thoughts kept returning to the scarf over and over again. What could be inside it? Should she open it? She shook her head, telling herself that she shouldn't pry into other people's affairs, but maybe if she opened the scarf, she could find the man and return it to him. Her thoughts were conflicted all the way until she reached the school. When her feet touched the school ground, she noticed a group of girls running towards her. "Hina, are you on television?" one of them shouted. Hina felt shocked. "She's on television!" Before she could ask, she was pulled into an empty classroom where one of the girls showed her the clips. The shock was evident on Hina's face. The clips showed the subway she recognized instantly. It was the subway she was in moments ago. The video showed the security footage, where the elderly man exited the subway with the help of a girl. Then the video switched to the elderly man who said something unbelievable. "I left an important item in the subway and I desperately need to retrieve it." When she heard this, her hand moved involuntarily to her front pocket. She was right. The old man had left it there. But the video didn't end there. The footage showed her picking up the envelope. Then the man returned to the screen, looking despondent. "To the girl who found it, please contact me," he said without hesitation. Hina started heading towards the subway. She saw in the video which station the man got off at. It was only one station away from the closest one to her school. Maybe the man was still there. As Hina sat in the subway, she opened the front pocket of her bag to make sure the envelope was still there. To her surprise, She noticed that the envelope was not sealed. She looked inside to discover something astonishing. What? Heine shrieked, her eyes growing wide with shock as she looked inside the envelope. There was a large key with a pendant design. She closed her bag while wondering what this key might open. It seemed valuable, and it was easy to understand why this key was important to the old man. She felt relieved when she realized she was about to reach the right station. A few moments later, the metro stopped at the station she saw in the security footage. Okay, what now? She hesitated there, contemplating the large station that contained 6 platforms. Was the man still here? And if he was here, where could he be? She began to run across the platform, her heart pounding with the speed of the run. She was confused, but finally she saw him. The old man was sitting on a bench on the other side of the station. She rushed towards him and said apologetically, "I left this bag on the train, and I wanted to return it to you." The man looked at her in astonishment, his eyes widening in surprise. "Thank you, my dear," he said in a voice filled with gratitude. He gently took the bag from her. He said, "This key is very special to me. It has been in my family for generations, and I was terrified that I had lost it forever." She smiled at the man, happy that she could help. "I'm just glad I could return it," she said. The man smiled back at her and told her that she reminded him of his granddaughter, always ready to help just like her. Heine smiled and told him it was no problem at all. Then something amazing happened. Heine felt a strong curiosity pushing her to ask the man, "What does this key open?" She put her hand on her mouth, surprised that she asked this question suddenly, but the man smiled calmly and said, "I can show you if you want." Heine agreed immediately, without knowing how this journey will end. The man had invited her to accompany him, and she didn't know why. Inviting a stranger to see something very important to him. The more she thought about it, the more nervous she became. But the man wouldn't harm her, right? To alleviate her anxiety, she began asking the man some questions, and to her surprise, the man was very open in his responses. Her fears completely subsided when he explained to her that the key goes back to a bank vault containing his family's inheritance, and he was very eager to show this inheritance to her. She hesitated for a moment, but eventually agreed to go with him, climbing the metro together and sitting in silence. The man was holding a small box tightly near his chest, and when they got off the station, the man led her through a maze of streets to the bank. The man was greeted by the bank manager with a smile, and the manager led them through a long corridor to a room containing a large safe. After the manager left, the man slowly took out the key and opened the safe with a loud click. When the heavy safe door opened, Heine gasped. The safe was full of things made of gold and precious stones and boxes. But what caught her attention was a beautiful small Japanese statue sitting on a base in the corner of the room. The man noticed Heine as she was examining the statue and did something unexpected. He lifted the statue and gave it to her. "This is for you as a token of my gratitude," the man said. Heine was in shock. She just did what she felt was right, and didn't think she deserved this. Heine shook her head, refusing to accept the gift, but the man insisted. "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to return here at all," he explained to her. Heine felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She knew the statue was of great value, but its real worth was in the kindness that brought it to her. Heine could not help but feel a connection with the elderly man, as they shared something special, and neither of them knew that this would not be the last time they would meet. After receiving the statue as a gift, Heine began to feel overwhelmed by its value and history. She had never owned anything like this before, and she wanted to make sure she was taking care of it properly. After months, she took the intricately designed statue to an expert for evaluation. His amazement at the piece caught her off guard. He explained to her that a famous artist made it during the Edo period, and its value exceeds $120,000. Heine was stunned by the value of the statue and its history. She felt proud of her decision to return the key to the elderly man in the metro. But this was not the end of the story. About 8 months after getting the key, she returned to her home one day and felt that something was not right. There was a cold breeze flowing into the hallway. When she entered the living room, then noticed that the window of my room was open, she felt panic immediately. She quickly looked at the closet where she kept the statue, but it had already disappeared. Someone had stolen it. She sat there in her room, looking at the void that it used to occupy. The statue from before. The statue was an archaeological piece that was priceless to her. It had become a symbol of her personal heritage. She couldn't believe that it had been stolen, but one thing only left her in shock. Behind it was a note written on it, "You will never see it again." She felt completely helpless and didn't know where to turn. At that moment, she remembered the old man who gave her the statue. Maybe he could help her. She picked up the phone and called him, hoping he could provide some assistance. They have been in regular contact since that day. "Hello?" The man's voice came from the other end of the line. "Hello, I'm here," she said in a trembling voice. "I need your help. The statue has been stolen." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Then the man said, "Okay, I'll be there as soon as possible," and he kept his promise. The man arrived at Hina's house just a few hours later. "Tell me everything," he said upon arrival. Hina explained everything that had happened, and the man listened with intense interest. He asked her several questions, like whether the window could be opened from the outside, and if she knew anyone who might want to steal the statue. In the end, he concluded that these people were probably traders in the black market. The elderly man knew a lot about people who trade in antiquities, and he promised her that he would help her recover the statue. Over the following days, the man began to work seriously, making calls, talking to people, and using all his contacts. She was amazed at how quickly he was able to find leads. It was as if he knew everyone in this field, and he was able to get information that no one else could access. Finally, the man got a strong lead. He heard that a group of traders recently got a statue that fits the description. These traders were operating from a nearby city, so he decided to travel there to start searching for the statue. When he arrived and started the search, the old man had no contacts in that city, which made him wonder anxiously, "What are we going to do now?" The man answered with a light smile. "The matter is very simple, in fact." He looked at him in amazement. She did not understand how the matter could be simple. The man explained that they just needed to go to the most dangerous part of the city, visit dubious bars, and talk to people who know the black market. They were cautiously asking to gather information about the stolen statue. The man knew these circles very well, and was able to use his knowledge to get more information about the trader, but they had to be cautious to the end. As the man had previously informed her, they did not find the statue in the case. Finding the right people to talk to takes time and meticulous effort. One day he entered a strange tavern and found a person who had valuable information. She was feeling extremely nervous, but the elderly man took charge of the situation, talking to the strange man, while she was observing the place cautiously, holding onto the hem of her dress tightly. Everyone was looking at her, and this made her feel scared. "This is not good," she muttered to herself suddenly. She felt a hand on her shoulder. She froze in her place, but when she regained her senses, she found that the hand was the old man's hand. He whispered to her calmly to follow him. She quickly went outside. As soon as they reached the street, the old man explained to her that he had found a hideout. The merchants were holed up in a warehouse on the outskirts of the city. She felt warmth seeping into her heart. They were about to resume acting. They arrived at the warehouse under the cover of darkness and saw several people moving inside. The old man proceeded with caution while she stayed in the car. The man began to negotiate with the merchants, and in a short while, he was able to convince them to sell the statue. The merchants did not realize that the negotiations were just a distraction. While the man was negotiating, he contacted the police and informed them of what was happening. After a short while, the sound of sirens rang out, and the thieves were arrested. Before she realized what was happening, she was holding the statue in her hands one more time. She and the man felt overwhelming joy, because their search led them to recover the statue and arrest the thieves. Hina didn't know how she could possibly thank the man enough, but he was happy that the statue had returned to its rightful owner.